Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something. What if I told you that the biggest thing standing between you and the life you dream of is you? I know, it sounds harsh, but it's true. The reality is this: if you control your mind, you can change your life. Your mind is a force. It's a tool that you carry with you every single moment of your life, whether you're conscious of it or not. What you think, how you think, and what you believe, these things shape every action, every decision, and ultimately the direction your life takes. Think about it. Everything you have, everything you are started as a thought. The house you live in, the career you've built, the relationships you nurture, even the dreams that keep you awake at night, they were all born in your mind. Every single achievement and every setback was first created or influenced by your mental landscape. But here's the kicker: your mind isn't just a passive observer in your life, it's a creator. The images you hold in your head, the stories you tell yourself, the conversations you replay over and over, that's where the magic happens. And that magic can either be one of destruction or one of creation. If you feed your mind with negativity, self-doubt, and limiting beliefs, you are setting up a mental environment that reinforces exactly what you fear. But if you shift that, if you challenge those thoughts, if you question the beliefs that hold you back, if you decide to replace them with thoughts that empower you, you've unlocked the first key to transforming your life. Your mind has the power to lift you to unimaginable heights, but only if you choose to harness it. When you actively decide what you want to focus on, when you choose to ignore the distractions, when you guard against the inner critic, that's when you start taking command of your own future. The real question isn't whether you can do it, it's whether you're willing to control the way you think. Because the reality is, you can shape your thoughts, you can change your mindset, and in turn, change your circumstances. So think about it. The moment you realize that your mind is your greatest asset, you stop being a passive participant in your own life. You become the architect. Your mind doesn't control you anymore. Control your mind. And that is where your true power lies. This isn't about magic or wishful thinking. It's about intentionality. It's about aligning your thoughts, your beliefs, and your actions with the life you want to create. It's about turning your mind from a place of resistance into a place of relentless support. When you do that, you start living a life that's no longer shaped by the circumstances around you, but by the intentions within you. Too often, we wait for that perfect moment, that surge of motivation that will somehow give us the energy or clarity to take action. We think, I'll do it when I feel ready, or once I'm inspired, I'll go all in. But here's the truth: waiting for motivation is a trap. It's a cycle that keeps you stuck. Motivation doesn't just magically appear. It's not something that knocks on your door and says, okay, now you can get started. You're not going to wake up one morning and suddenly feel like you've got it all figured out. The reality is, waiting for motivation to strike is like waiting for the stars to align. It's a passive approach to your goals. And in the meantime, life keeps moving. Every second you spend waiting is another second you're not moving forward. What you might not realize is that motivation follows action, not the other way around. It's when you start doing, even when you don't feel like it, that motivation finds you. The first step, even if it's small, creates momentum. That momentum is the key to everything you want to achieve. You don't need motivation to begin, you need courage to take that first step, no matter how imperfect or uncertain it may feel. Think about the times when you've been most productive. Was it when you waited for inspiration? Or was it when you pushed yourself to start, even when your mind told you to wait? I bet it's the latter. Action creates energy. And that energy fuels more action, which then leads to results. The more you do, the more motivated you become. You start to see the progress, and that progress becomes its own driving force. Waiting for motivation is like sitting in a car with the engine off, hoping the car will start by itself. It won't. But the moment you turn the key, the engine roars to life. It's the same with your goals. The moment you decide to act, even if it's in a small, imperfect way, you'll start to feel the momentum you've been waiting for. So stop waiting. Stop thinking that the right time will eventually come. There's no perfect time. There's only now. The only way to break free from this waiting game is to realize that motivation is something you create through doing, not something you wait for. The sooner you act, the sooner the motivation will catch up with you. Remember, the best time to start is always today. The best time to take that first step is right now. You've been waiting long enough. It's time to stop waiting for the stars to align and start creating the life you want, one action at a time. Your thoughts are not set in stone. They are not permanent fixtures in your mind, locked in place for life. In fact, your brain is far more flexible than most people realize. The way you think today, the patterns and beliefs you hold about yourself, your potential, and the world around you, those can be reshaped. The idea that your thinking is fixed is one of the biggest lies we tell ourselves. It's easy to assume that the way we think is just how we've always thought. And that's how it will always be. But science has shown us that the brain has the ability to rewire itself. This is called neuroplasticity. And it means your brain can form new connections, create new pathways, and even undo old patterns of thinking. So the beliefs you have today are not necessarily the beliefs you'll have tomorrow. What this means for you is incredible. If you're feeling stuck in negative thought loops or if self-doubt constantly creeps in, you can change that. If you've been telling yourself for years that you're not good enough or that success isn't for people like you, that doesn't have to be your truth anymore. You can literally start to rewire the way you think. It all begins with awareness. The first step is recognizing that the thoughts you hold are just that, thoughts. They are not facts. And just because you've thought something for years doesn't make it true. From there, the work starts. It's not enough to just think, I want to change. You have to actively challenge your thinking and replace the old limiting beliefs with new empowering ones. This doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. But it's entirely possible. Start by noticing the little things. Pay attention to when your mind goes into default mode, when it tells you that you can't do something, or that you're not worthy of success, or that you'll never reach your goals. Those are the moments when you need to step in. Those are the moments when you need to interrupt that thought and replace it with something new. For instance, instead of thinking, I'm not good enough, try saying, I'm learning and growing every day. Instead of, I can't do this, say, I have the strength to overcome this challenge. At first, it might feel unnatural. You might feel like you're lying to yourself. But the more you practice, the more you create new pathways in your brain that support your success. Think of it like building a muscle. At first, it's weak, it's not used to being worked, and it can feel a little awkward. But the more you work it, the stronger it becomes. With time, your brain will start to default to these new, more positive, empowering beliefs instead of the old ones that held you back. And the more you practice this, the more you'll notice shifts in your behavior too. When your mind starts to believe that you are capable, that you deserve success, that you are worthy of love and respect, you'll start acting like it. Your choices will align with those beliefs. You'll make decisions that support the life you want, not the one you fear. Remember, you are not bound to the thoughts that have shaped you in the past. Every single day, you have the power to create new thought patterns. You have the power to rewire your mind and set yourself up for the life you deserve. It takes time, it takes effort, but most of all, it takes belief in the process. Because the moment you start changing your thoughts, you begin changing your life. And that transformation, it starts in your mind. There are moments when you feel paralyzed when fear, doubt, or procrastination comes creeping in, and you just can't seem to take that first step. You know what you need to do, but somehow it feels so much easier to stay in your comfort zone. You can't wait for motivation to strike because it simply isn't coming and you don't have time to waste. But what if you didn't have to wait for inspiration? What if there was a way to bypass the hesitation and just move? The solution is simpler than you might think, a countdown. I'm talking about the simple act of counting backward 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It sounds almost too easy, right? But there's power in this little ritual that can shift you from hesitation to action in a matter of seconds. It works because it takes your mind out of analysis mode and interrupts the cycle of overthinking. When you hesitate, your brain goes into a kind of overdrive. You start questioning, doubting, weighing options. Your comfort zone wants to keep you safe, so it convinces you to stay where you are. The longer you sit with that thought, the more difficult it becomes to act. But when you count down from 5, something shifts. You're no longer in your head caught up in the loop of fear. The countdown is a command, a signal to do, not think. It's as if you're interrupting the mental chatter and forcing your body into action. The beauty of the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method is that it's a pattern interrupter. It's fast and direct, and it requires no willpower. When you hit one, your brain has no time to argue with you. It's not about willpower or motivation. It's about doing. And that small action is everything. The moment you take that first step, you've broken the inertia. You've decided not to let hesitation control you. It's a reset, a way to literally take control of the moment before fear or doubt takes over. Every time you count down, you send a signal to your brain that it's time to act. And because you're not giving yourself a chance to second guess or rethink, your body moves before your mind has a chance to talk you out of it. The power of this simple technique is that it removes the need for perfect timing, perfect conditions, or perfect motivation. The countdown isn't about waiting for the ideal moment. It's about taking action, no matter how imperfect the moment is. And when you start to act, even in the smallest ways, you build momentum. That momentum gives you the energy to keep going, and suddenly you're no longer stuck, you're moving forward. Don't underestimate the effect of this simple tool. It may seem small, but its impact is profound. By practicing this every day, you'll notice how much faster you start making decisions, taking action, and moving toward your goals. A countdown eliminates the hesitation that keeps you stuck, and it creates space for you to start before you feel ready. Too many of us are paralyzed by the idea of perfection. We set incredibly high standards for ourselves, believing that if we can't do something flawlessly, it's better not to do it at all. We think we need to have everything figured out, every detail in place, and every obstacle removed before we take action. But here's the harsh truth: perfection doesn't exist. It's an illusion. And chasing it will only hold you back. The problem with perfection is that it keeps you in a state of inaction. You get stuck waiting for conditions to be just right, for the perfect plan, the perfect opportunity, or the perfect version of yourself. But the reality is there is no perfect moment, and there certainly isn't a perfect way to do things. What there is, however, is progress. And that's what you should be aiming for. When you commit to progress instead of perfection, you release yourself from the pressure of trying to control everything. You understand that growth doesn't happen when you're sitting around waiting for the ideal circumstances. It happens when you take imperfect, messy action and learn as you go. Every step forward, no matter how small, is a step in the right direction. Progress means acknowledging that mistakes are part of the process. They're not failures, they're lessons. And when you allow yourself to make those mistakes, to stumble and fumble along the way, you create opportunities for growth that perfection could never give you. Perfection says, I'll only move when everything is flawless. Progress says, I'll move no matter what and figure it out along the way. Here's something powerful to consider. The most successful people in the world didn't achieve their greatness by being perfect. They achieved it by failing, learning, adjusting, and improving constantly. They committed to progress, not perfection. They moved even when they didn't feel ready. They showed up, took action, and kept going no matter how messy or imperfect the journey looked. And guess what? They probably didn't even realize they were making progress in the moment. But every time they took action, even when it felt like they were failing, they were actually getting closer to their goals. That's the magic of progress. It builds on itself. Every action you take, every decision you make, every small win you experience, it all adds up. It's important to remember that the small things matter. The tiny steps you take toward your goals, the ones that might seem insignificant, are actually the most crucial ones, because they create the momentum you need to keep going. And when you focus on the next step, not the final destination, you start to realize that the journey itself is just as valuable as the end result. When you choose progress over perfection, you stop sabotaging yourself with unrealistic expectations. You stop waiting for the perfect version of yourself to show up, and you start embracing the version of yourself that's willing to show up. Progress is about commitment, not to getting everything right, but to showing up, doing the work, and staying in the game, no matter how imperfect it feels. So stop holding yourself back with the myth of perfection. Let go of the need to have it all figured out, because you won't. No one does. Instead, commit to the process of growth, no matter how messy or unpredictable it may seem. The small actions you take today will eventually lead to big results. And that's where the real magic lies, in the constant imperfect forward movement. As we wrap up today, I want you to carry one simple truth with you. Your mind holds the power to shape your life. If you control your thoughts, you can change your actions. And if you change your actions, you change everything. But here's the thing, it's not going to happen in one big leap. It happens in the small moments, the moments where you choose not to wait for motivation, but to take action anyway. The moments when you decide to rewire your thinking and interrupt the habits that no longer serve you. The moments when you commit to progress, not perfection, and choose to move forward, no matter how imperfectly. Remember, success isn't about waiting for the perfect conditions, the perfect plan, or the perfect you. It's about showing up, doing the work, and trusting that every step forward, no matter how small, adds up. It's about letting go of fear, doubt, and hesitation, and making the decision to take action. To not wait for permission. To trust that you have the power to change your life. So I challenge you, stop waiting for everything to be perfect. Stop waiting for motivation to strike. Start taking action right now, even if it feels uncomfortable. Rewire those thoughts that limit you and create new beliefs that empower you. Commit to progress, no matter how messy or imperfect it might look. Your life is in your hands, and the choice to change it starts with one thing: you. Go out there and make it happen. Because if you control your mind, you absolutely can change your life. Thank you